What's happening, guys? Steve here, Cars with Steve, and today we are going to be taking a look at the 2020 Lincoln Aviator. Now, the Aviator is back for the 2020 year. It was discontinued back in 2005, and this is replacing the MKT. So you've got the ability to have it configured for either 6 or 7 seats, obviously depending on what you need. So before we dive right into it, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed the content, but consider subscribing, because once I hit the 1,000 subscribers, I'm gonna be giving away a free set of WeatherTech floor liners to one lucky subscriber. But guys, let's dive right into it and figure out what the Lincoln Aviator is all about. All right, starting off, looking underneath the hood of this thing. So as you can see here, really nice look, really simple. Now, a couple things to point out about the vehicle itself. There are 2 different engine choices available. It's either got a 3-liter twin turbo engine, it's gonna push out 450 horsepower and 415 foot-pounds of torque, or the second choice is a Grand Touring model, which is going to be that same 3-liter twin turbo, but it's going to also come with an electric powertrain. That's gonna push out 494 horsepower and 630 foot-pounds of torque. So tons and tons of power in this thing. Now, the one we are looking at is the 202 model of the vehicle, which does give us larger tires instead. Absolutely beautiful. Now, this one is also configured with the dynamic handling package, which is essentially going to be the air suspension system. So this thing is fairly loaded from a technology perspective. But if we take a look on the outside of the vehicle first, so we do have our blind spot system. Lets us know if anybody's under the blind spot in either side of the vehicle. As you can see here, we've got our forward sensing system. Now, that forward sensing system is going to give us the ability to have a full 360-degree camera. And as you can see there, we do have our reverse sensing system as well as our regular backup camera. Now, as you can see here, this one also does have the towing package that's going to come standard. Now, the towing package in the Aviator, this vehicle can tow up to 6,700 pounds, depending on how you have it configured. So tons and tons of towing power. If you're pulling a boat, small trailer, things like that, the Aviator absolutely has you covered. But let's dive inside of this thing and actually figure out a little bit more about it. And actually, before we hop inside, let's start on the outside. So, as you can see here, just along our driver's side, we do have a capless fuel system. Close it in order to lock it back into place. Now, one thing about fuel consumption, when it comes to the horsepower and the torque specs that I stated earlier, that's using a premium fuel. But having said that, minimum manufacturer's recommended is 87 octane, so your regular gas. So do you need to use a higher octane fuel? Absolutely not. But you will notice a big difference if you use that higher octane fuel. You're gonna get truer performance numbers and better performance numbers if you use that higher performance fuel instead. Now, when it comes to the actual key fob, so as you can see here, we've got our unlock button, our lock, remote start, and then we've got our trunk button, as well as our horn or our panic alarm button. When it comes down to getting inside of the trunk of this thing, we can either press the button here, or one of the nice things about the Aviator is that it also has a foot-activated liftgate. So all we're gonna do is just kick underneath, take a step back, and as you can see, it's opened up and we've got a little bit of space in the back here. So this one is configured for a 6-seater configuration, and it's all based off of what you do in that middle row. But taking a look in the back row, as you can see, we've got a little bit of storage space underneath. And as we pull this guy out and lift this up, as you can see, we've got our mini spare tire under there as well. So really nice that we've got some extra storage space and storage options in there as well. And we've also got a tiny little bit of storage along both sides. All right, now along the back side here, as you can see, we've got the hooks that we can use in order to use our cargo net, and we've got our tie downs there as well. Perfect, and we've also got a 12-volt adapter in the back as well. So we can go either the right side, the left side, or both sides simultaneously, which is really nice. As you can see, press and hold, so just a slight press and hold there in order to fold the seats down. Really straightforward. As you can see, tons of space in the back there. In order to bring the seats back up, all we're gonna do is just press and hold, and if you can see there, the seats are popping back up for us. Let's take a peek on the inside and see what the spacing's like. Now, Absolutely beautiful, beautiful look to this thing. Now, one thing to point out, just along the side here, as you can see, we do have a sunshade. So the sunshade you can bring up and down, really, really nice if you've got some people in the back. But let's check out that third row seating there. So one thing to point out is that this one does have the middle console. So there are 3 different configurations that you can have inside of this thing. We've either got the dual captain's chairs with the middle console, we can do the dual captain's chairs with no console, or we can do a bench seat instead. And that bench seat is when we get into that 7-seater configuration. Now, in order to bring the seats down along the back, as you can see, we've got this button. We're just going to press the button and slide the seat forward in order to crawl inside. There we go. Okay, so as you can see there, it's fairly spacious. Like, I'm 6 feet tall. And then even with this seat all the way back, I still do have a little bit of knee space. I've got some feet space, and up overhead, I've got about an inch roughly of head space. So if you've got some taller passengers, just knowing that they can comfortably get into this back seat, into that third seat comfortably. Like I am, I'm very, very comfortable back here. It's kind of nice. So a couple things in the back, as you can see, we've got a couple more hooks, a few cup holders along the side and along the other side as well. So convenience features in the back seat, it is a little bit of a neglected back seat, but at the same time, it is very, very comfortable. In order to get out, very straightforward, same idea. We're just gonna press that button, hop back out. All right, and we're just gonna slide back and lift up to bring the seat back. Okay, and taking a look now, the second row seating. So obviously even more seating space in the back of this thing. I've got about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of head space above me. The driver's seat is set up for somebody who's 6 feet tall. And as you can see, I still have a ton of space for my knees, tons of space for my feet as well. And I've also got the ability to bring the seat forwards or backwards a little bit more. So if I need a little bit more space, I've got the ability to do that easily. I can also recline the chair a little bit as well if I'd like to. So really, really nice. Now, as I mentioned, this is the one that does have the console in the middle instead. Now, when it comes down to the console, so a couple things, we've got a little space in the back, a little bit more space here. The people in the back can also control the twin panel sunroof. So by pressing the button over it, open and close, we can open and close that sunroof. As you can see there, we've got a couple cup holders, and as we move along, the driver passenger console instead, so along the back, so we do, as the backseat driver, have the ability, or the backseat passenger I should say, we've got the ability to control a few things. So the seats themselves are heated in the second row. Now, it's heated for the dual captain's chairs. If you get the bench configuration with the 3 seats in the middle seat unfortunately will not come heated. It's strictly the driver and the passenger captain's chairs. And as we move back down, so we can turn the heated seats on, we've got the ability to adjust the climate control there. We can control audio settings, or we also have some basic settings as well. Now, one thing to note is that you do have the ability to lock that screen out. So if you've got kids in the back or people that are fighting over the seats, the climate, etc., you can lock out that screen so that it cannot be used whatsoever. Now, as you can see, we still do have a ton of space in the back here, and it's a very, very spacious vehicle. Along the door, we've got the ability to either unlock or lock. We can open or close our window. And as I mentioned, we also do have that sunshade. So really, really nice for those really bright days. In order to get out, all we're gonna do is just press that button in order to unlock the door. Okay, now as it comes to the driver's side, so technology-wise, as I mentioned, it does have the blind spot indicator. So it's gonna highlight orange there when somebody's entered the blind spot in either side of the vehicle. When it comes to the driver's side doors, so a few things to point out. We've got our unlock and our lock buttons. We've got the ability to power close our side view mirrors there, so we can either open or close it. And then from there, we've got the ability to kill off window power and then our window adjusting as well. We've also got a few seat memory buttons, because if we take a look here, there is no seat memory whatsoever along the side. So no way to adjust the seat on the driver and passenger seat. Now that was actually borrowed from the Aviator, because what they've done is they've moved it from the driver passenger side seats onto the door. So as you can see there, we've got a ton of different options now. We can move the seat forwards and backwards. We can move the seat up or down. We can move we can move the back seat there, as you can see. We can move an individual part of the backrest. We can move the headrest forwards, backwards, up and down. So really, really neat what you can adjust. And you can also adjust each leg individually. So really, really cool. Now we've got the option, we can press this button along the door. When we do that, we've got some added options there. So as you can see, we've got the ability to control more lumbar support, and the vehicle is also equipped with massage chair seats. Now the massage chair seats are available as an option. It's standard in the 202 package. But as you can see there, oh, the message went away. Look at that. So massage chair seats, and it gives us a number of different options there. So lower rolling, upper rolling, etc. Really, really comfortable, especially for those distance drives, because it's going to give you a little bit of support for your lower back and for your hamstrings as well, which is really, really good if you're doing distance drives. You won't need to stop as much to stretch out your legs. Really, really nice that Lincoln's thought about that. Okay, now as we start to move, actually let's go through the Sync 3 screen for a second here. So the Sync 3 screen does give you the ability to use Android Auto and Apple CarPlay inside of the vehicle. Really, really straightforward. It also does have built-in navigation. Now I do go into the Sync 3 screen and a number of these other features fairly in-depth in another video. Check the description down below in order to get a direct link to it. As we start to move down, so quick features, as you can see, we've got our parking button there. So we can either navigate to parking or it can help out with parking, so park assist. So it can help out with parallel, perpendicular, or park out. Or parallel park out, I should say. Close that down, and then as I mentioned, we also do have our 360 camera. So we've got a very, very beautiful view of the vehicle. If we press the button along the top, we've got a front partial view, and then a front 180-degree view. So where those front views are really useful is if you're pulling out of underground parking or out of a tight space and you want to make sure there's nobody on either side of the vehicle. And press that button to get rid of it, and then we've got some basic driver assistance settings. So the auto start stop, the auto hold, etc. As we start to move down, so as you can see here, we don't have a traditional gear shifter anymore. The gear shift is now here. Now that was taken from the Lincoln Navigator. So as you can see, very, very straightforward. We've got our park, reverse, neutral, and drive. As we start to move down, we've got the ability to adjust the volume. We can tune to a different station. We've got the ability now to control either, there we go, single zone or dual zone. So if the passenger likes it a little bit colder, a little bit warmer, whatever the case may be, we can do that, and we can adjust it for the driver and passenger separately. Pressing the menu button there is going to give you some more menu options. We can completely turn the system off from there. And our basic AC settings as well. We've got a heated steering wheel, and we've got, as you can see there, heated and cooled front seats. Now the heated and cooled front seats, really, really nice, especially during those wintertime or the really, really hot summer months. So I love the fact that Lincoln's got this inside of their vehicles. As we start to move down, so a couple other things to point out. As you can see here, we've got a nice little pad there. We've got our USB ports, and along the side, we've also got, now one thing to point out, this right here, cell phone holder. We've got the ability to throw our cell phone down there as well. So again, same thing. It's these little things that really make the difference. And then all we're going to do is we're just going to press, we're going to pull, I should say, on this one in order to be able to close those down. We've got our electronic parking brake and a series of different drive modes. So as we rotate the drive modes there, so we've got slippery, deep snow conditions, moving back along the other way, our normal drive, conserve, and then excite. So the drive modes are going to do different things to the vehicle. Again, depending on the time of year, that's going to determine what setting you're going to use. Wintertime driving, trust me, use that slippery setting. It works really, really, really well. All right, now from here, a couple other things to point out. Let's go along our sides. As you can see there, we do have a little bit of storage space. Okay, now moving on to the steering wheel. So very, very straightforward there, and also tons and tons of options available there as well. Just gonna back you up a tiny little bit. Okay, now along the screen there, as you can see, we've got a few different hotkey buttons. So let's start off on our left-hand side. So we've got the ability to either change songs, or we can increase or decrease the volume. And we've also got the ability to turn on our adaptive cruise control. Now, as you can see there, when the adaptive cruise control system's on or off, that's going to dictate what other buttons are showing up as well. So we've got the adaptive cruise control system. We also do have a lane keeping and a lane centering system as well. So very straightforward. In order to set our adaptive cruise, all we're going to do is press either one of these, and then we can either increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time. Along the other side, we've got our distance indicator. So how close or how far away are we from the vehicle in front of us? And then this next one is going to be our lane centering system. So the lane centering system is the one that's going to recenter you and pull you back into your lane. That centering system works one of three ways technically. Recenter you, pull you back into your lane, give you a little bit of a steering wheel shake, almost as if you're running over rumble pavement, and then the last one, it'll do both. So really a matter of preference there, and then turning the system off, get rid of those keys as well. We've got the ability to select between different options that are on the screen. Very straightforward. And then from there, we can look at our navigation and we can jump back. So that's one of the nice things. We don't need to look at the screen for the built-in nav. We can go based off of this middle instrument cluster instead. We can make phone calls, same thing if our phone was connected. And then we've also got the ability to change whatever station we're listening to, so we can change between our sources as well. So our AM, FM, Sirius XM, if our phone was connected there. And then just press the home button to return home. Now, a couple other things to point out about the steering wheel. As you can see, we do have our plus and minus buttons, so we can choose what gear we're in. We've also got the ability to control how fast, or how responsive, I should say, those windshield wipers are. We've got the ability to run our rear window wiper as well. And then along the side, we've got the ability to turn our lane centering system, our lane keeping system on or off. So we're just gonna press this button in order to turn it on or off. This is going to be the hotkey for our voice command. So the voice command button is going to give us the ability to either navigate, we can change radio stations, we can make phone calls, things like that directly by pressing that button. So really, really straightforward. One other thing to point out along the steering wheel, actually a few more things to point out along the steering wheel, I should say. So we've got our power telescopic steering wheel. So we can move the steering wheel in, out, up, down, etc. Once you've got the steering wheel set up, once you've got your seat set up, and once you've got the side view mirrors set up, press and hold either 1, 2, or 3. So you've got 3 individual settings there. So pressing and holding 1 for driver number 1, driver number 2 profile, driver number 3 profile. So really, really convenient that you can set it up for different drivers and that it will remember all of these settings for you. Really, really nice. And now as we look up overhead, as you can see there, we've got the ability to plug in a garage door opener code. Along the opposite side, we've got our vent control there as well. So vent control, I should say, is for the twin panel sunroof. So we're just gonna press that button. As you can see there, it's going to open up overhead. Really, really big, beautiful view there. Single button press opens it up the majority of the way. Another button press opens it up that last little bit. And we've still got the ability to open up the shade a little bit more. So again, really opening up that feel of the vehicle, just making it seem really, really open in comparison. Back up overhead, we've got the ability to turn on our cabin lights. And as always, we've got our sunglasses holder. Look at that, I love it. I love how much the sunroof really opens things up, but whether you get it or not, again, is going to depend. Well, it's going to come standard inside of the Aviator, which firstly is a nice thing, because this thing it's really more about luxury inside of these vehicles. And this thing, it's a very, very luxurious ride, but I absolutely love it. Now, one thing to point out is that when you're in a gear, let's say if you've just reversed into your spot, you've parked, all we're gonna do is press that power button, and it's automatically going to bring us into park there as well. Now, there are quite a few settings and quite a few things that the vehicle can do as well. Reverse brake assist, speed side recognition tied in with your adaptive cruise control as well, which is really, really nice. So this thing is very, very loaded. Well guys, that was the quick overview and the review of the 2020 Lincoln Aviator. If you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them down below. Same thing for any comments. Drop them down below and let me know. But until I see you guys next time, make sure you stay safe.